listening to the RM Podcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And,
I was late.
I think we got a wardrobe malfunction.
I'm here.
He's trying to get dressed. He noticed it right before the show. He said, "Oh my gosh, I forgot my mood shirt."
There we go.
And just before that, he forgot his iPad.
Oh man, now I messed my hair. Look, now I got it. Here we go.
You need to undo it. Undo the craziness.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That looks beautiful. Look like Gallagher.
Gallagher.
If only we had like a watermelon. You could bust it.
Did I got my
Oh wow, no, you look like a
Gary Busey going on.
Oh my God.
You just sprinkle a little salt on your ass and you get the goats to lick it. You gotta watch his YouTube channel.
It's
great.
pretty good. It's pretty amazing. That's actually a. Oh no, we already got that. Keith.
Did I? Okay. I
Yeah,
wanted
we
to make
fixed
sure.
that.
It looked fine.
But mine's all screwed up.
Here, hold
So
on.
now I gotta fix mine.
It's been up all
Fix
day,
it,
so it probably
even
won't be
though-
as curly as when Melissa was amazed
look at
by
that.
it.
Look at the
Oh,
beautiful
it's still got
locks
some
on him.
curls in it.
Oh, I like that.
That's just
Yeah.
gorgeous.
That's for Lamaria.
Lamaria. Couple weeks away, guys.
yeah.
We're just a few weeks
You
away.
still got that scar.
He doesn't want
don't
to
you?
stand up. Yeah, yeah.
He's
Well,
yeah.
it's very. Hold on.
Forever.
Oh, it right up. Oh,
It's
kinda,
above the eyebrow. Yeah.
Yeah,
It went into the eyebrow.
it did.
Yeah.
It got really up close and
Mm.
personal. We were fighting for the country, though. The country
Maybe
of
I'll
Lamaria.
post that. Maybe I'll post that picture on our official Instagram.
Do you
for
have
people
the
to see.
video? I know we've got the
I don't.
video
I don't have the
somewhere.
video. I think Neil recorded that, but I do have photos that I can
Oh,
post
okay.
on,
Well, photos
on
are
the
good.
official Instagram.
Those
and
are always
Facebook.
great.
If I can,
Well,
I'll just,
it's,
I'll
you
just
know why?
hunch.
You know
I'll
why
hunch
it's
this
doing
week.
that?
It doesn't want to stand up.
You
this
know why
week.
it's doing that?
Why?
You don't have your headphones on.
That's why.
Your headphones are weighing
I'm
it down.
I'm all over the place this
It
week.
is, but you know what? It's great to be
Look
back.
at that! It solved it.
It solved it. Now it's steady.
All right, and I can hear everything better. I didn't even register.
yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
it's weird because I'll be
I'm
honest. when
sorry.
we're
I did a
doing
lot
the
of crack
show-
cocaine before the show today.
He did. He sniffed a line right before we went on, on live. During the intro, it's what we do.
I don't normally leave my hair down, but
That's
I think
what
I'm
the
going to
bathroom
this
is used
week.
for.
Here we
We
go.
usually take
We
turns. but-
powder our noses before every show.
That's right. Absolutely.
powder the nose.
But no, we do have a great show planned for you, like we do every week here on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m.
Yeah, we got
Live.
That good
YouTube,
moon coffee.
Facebook.
we got a little bit of a different review. It's not a big blockbuster that was pushed back, nor is it a smaller film that went straight to VOD. It's something kind of in between.
Yeah.
AMC didn't really know what to do with it either because they put it in the smallest theater.
I'm telling you, I swear, this was the last time I was in this theater was when we saw The Artist.
Yeah.
Which was an indie flick released back in like 2012.
I told Sean, it's like, Sean, I think the TV in your basement is bigger
no,
than
I
this.
mean literally.
It is.
When I went home, like I had enough time
Viewing
to just
distance,
chill
yeah.
out in the basement, so I went downstairs and was watching Black Summer on Netflix, and like literally where my couch is, which is about maybe 10 or 15 feet from the TV, it was a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, you were
insane.
sitting
Yeah.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I was thinking about because where we were sitting in the theater, which is our normal seats, right behind
Yeah.
the rail.
Yeah.
I was like, we
And-
could have gone like into one of the closer rows and rows, and it still wouldn't have looked like
no.
like it wouldn't have been a.
It would have
issue.
strained our necks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm like, Sean, with your 85-inch TV, it's like you could sit
It was crazy.
6
I
feet
gotta-
away and you
I
got a
still gotta
better
have
viewing
you guys
angle.
over, man.
Yeah.
Have you
We're
over.
coming.
We are.
We got a Lord of the Rings night planned.
It's coming.
Yep.
It's
It's going to be the way to break it in.
For October.
The proper way.
Yep.
I may take some time off for that.
When the
We
wife
should.
and kids are
We
away.
should.
Yep.
It was
The guys
We'll
shall
play.
play. Oh,
Mm.
them beautiful hair over there.
Indeed.
I like your hair
It's
now.
luscious.
That looks good.
Do you condition?
No,
It's just natural
it's
beauty.
shampoo.
I ain't gonna lie. This is
Head and
pretty
shoulders?
sad to admit.
Dr. Bronner's.
Oh, no,
Sometimes VO5 when I'm being cheap and I go to the Dollar
Ooh,
Tree.
VO5.
You go to the Dollar Tree and you
Yeah.
grab some VO5.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there was, I don't like to admit this, but there was one funny line in the Lizzie McGuire show. It was part of my upbringing, so I'm excused for having watched it. Okay?
I don't think I remember a single word of that show.
Hey, this was a funny part. Okay, this was Lizzie McGuire's love
I
interest.
don't excuse you because I grew up too and never watched the show except for when I was at your house.
Okay, I was gonna say that's a lie because you watched it at my house, but you admitted that.
Yeah.
Disney was the default channel. I'm sorry.
I mean, I watched Disney too,
always-
but
yeah.
when that came on, I turned the
I
channel.
thought she was cute. I liked
Oh
Hilary
no,
Duff.
she was. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
cute.
it never held my interest. Most of Disney wasn't really my default channel. I liked Even Stevens and Boy Meets World, but that was about it
It
on
used to
Disney.
be Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon
But
was
I
what was
I grew out of that.
Yeah.
So, but
See, I never stopped watching I still watch cartoons, so
I do, but Nickelodeon doesn't have those.
no, not Nickelodeon.
No.
Nickelodeon's trash. They
But-
started doing the live
they're
action. They
woke-
tried to compete with Disney and they didn't.
Yeah. They,
I liked Goosebumps.
Zoe 101.
I liked Goosebumps too. That was
Goosebumps.
That was
now,
good.
and
But
Are You
that
Afraid of the
wasn't-
Dark?
That wasn't
was
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
Well, yeah, Goosebumps wasn't Nickelodeon.
No.
But Are You
Goosebumps
Afraid of the
was-
Dark was.
What was that? Oh yeah, Are You Afraid? That's
That
what I'm
was a
thinking of.
really
Goosebumps
good
was
one.
on Fox Kids. That was
That's right,
basic.
That's right.
Yeah,
What was the
basic TV.
camp? Was it Salute Your Shorts?
You Salute Your
The
Shorts, and
Shorts,
Hey
yes.
Dude. was
Hey
the-
Dude,
yeah, that
I
was-
loved
yeah.
Hey Dude.
I'm telling you,
Nickelodeon
Stick
in the
Stickly
90s?
yes, in the
Yes,
summer was
yes.
awesome.
Stick Stickly.
was
Yep.
fantastic.
The
But
freaking
no.
Gag Factory and all
Yes,
that.
when they,
Yes.
Double Dare 2000.
Double Dare, I
and
love
they
that.
had like the Nickelodeon Kids
what was
Choice
the-
Awards.
Temple Run.
No,
I
it
lo-
wasn't Temple Run. It was.
That's the game
yeah,
on
yeah.
the phone.
But it was.
Legends of the
Legends of the
Hidden
Hidden
Temple.
Temple. Yeah,
Yes.
Legends
Yeah.
of the Hidden Temple. Yes,
Oh,
I
man.
love that one.
so good.
Oh, that was.
But no,
really
okay.
good.
So Lizzie McGuire, there was this one episode where her love interest was at her house or whatever. She was embarrassed or something, but her mom was obviously embarrassing her because she was talking to him,
Yeah.
and she just goes, "Your hair is just fantastic."
Oh, actually, I
And
do
then-
know.
and then he
I
goes,
said I don't remember, but I actually do
and-
know what
and
he's
he-
talking about.
he's like, "Yeah, you know where on the bottle it says rinse and repeat."
I
don't repeat.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I was just like that line. I
Yes.
don't know why. It was so good.
I
It
do
made
remember
me
that
laugh.
one because
don't
that was
repeat.
really good.
And I was like,
Yes.
I don't know why, but that one line did.
Yeah.
It stuck out to me. I was like, all right, that's funny. That was a funny line.
Yeah.
All right. Enough talking about our childhood nostalgia.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
Because
Makes
you know.
feel kind of old.
Oh,
doesn't it?
I was waiting for it. That was perfect.
Yeah, we
segue.
started talking about it with AMC, and then we moved on to other things. So
Oh,
We
yeah,
did.
Hillary
yeah.
Duff.
Yeah.
I mean,
What the Duff?
I think
Up the
I think
dub.
we should let people know the reason AMC was confused about this movie is because it was from M. Night Shyamalan, who doesn't hold the same weight he used to,
Yeah.
but has gotten like since The Visit has been making good movies. So I think AMC was just like, he's hit or miss, so we'll just throw him in this theater, you know. So,
Yeah.
but here's our review of Old, and you can see for yourself whether we got a good M. Night movie or a bad one. Some directors create gold with nearly every movie. Some become legends that refuse to bow out gracefully and continue long past their heyday. Others only make garbage, and some are one-hit wonders. Then there is M. Night Shyamalan, who has proven, if nothing else, that you will always be surprised with whatever he delivers. No, not because he is a master of suspense and twists, but because you never know if you're getting good M. Night or bad M. Night. After an amazing downward spiral that began with Lady in the Water, M. Night's film, The Visit, seemed to be a turning point, with Shyamalan's latest films all being fairly solid. Then we get Old. No, not physically, I mean the film Old, based on the French graphic novel Sandcastles, written by Pierre-Oscar Levy, which was adapted by M. Night for the big screen. To be fair, Old is not a terrible film, and is far from Shyamalan's worst. It does offer a solid story, though this is taken from the graphic novel itself, and this is where the film's problems lie. Most of what is good is because of the story from the novel. A lot of what's bad is completely from Shyamalan. Telling the story of the Kappa family, most of Old takes place on a beach where several guests of a secluded resort have been brought to on the recommendation of the resort's manager, who only offers select guests such an opportunity. Soon, the guests, including the Kappa family, discover they are rapidly aging while on the beach, and find themselves physically unable to leave the beach with no way to contact anyone to leave either. The idea behind Old is unique, but Shyamalan's execution is sadly lacking. While the entirety of the novel's story is set solely on the beach and focuses on the human nature element of people coming to terms with their mortality, the film changes things up a bit to offer more thrills and suspense. But the added thriller element does nothing for the film, and none of the thrilling moments meant to make you unsettled land, mainly because of how stupidly the characters react to many of the life-threatening situations. Oftentimes, things are either too convenient, happening just for the sake of moving the plot along, or characters react illogically in the face of danger, resulting in completely avoidable scenarios. None of the characters are well fleshed out for that matter either, outside of the Kappa family. And while the Kappas have a backstory that offers a few solid moments that either make you feel for them or relate to them, it's not enough to make you care about their fates. Not enough depth is given to the supporting cast, and what little is done only takes more time away from the only interesting people in the film. Don't worry though, what the film lacks in character development is not made up for in acting. While it's not as bad as Mark Wahlberg crying about the bees and the happening, most performances in this film are poor. Shyamalan does his best to add a twist to what was a fairly straightforward story in the novel, and create more depth and explanations for what is happening, something the novel never offers outside of what the characters speculate is causing the events. Shyamalan, however, tries to offer concrete explanations and a happier ending, neither of which are fulfilling. Ultimately, we get a clever idea taken from a simple novel, with a lot of bloated excess added in that does nothing to make the story better. It's entertaining for the concept, but ultimately you're probably better off just reading the graphic novel. I give Old 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Ooh, mixed bag. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in on Tuesday nights. It always is great whenever we get the support that we need and we're looking for. And it's like
I mean, what are you going to watch? There's nothing else
there's nothing else
right
on.
now.
So it's great that everybody's tuning in on Tuesday nights.
Gymnastics, but
Nobody watches. Nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching the Olympics.
No.
I mean, come on.
Well, Lois, nobody cares anymore.
Nobody cares.
And you know why?
All the wokeness, they come to us.
That's what I was going to say.
To de-woke, to be awake.
Nobody.
we're trying to put people back to sleep.
Nobody's interested in watching the Olympics and in supporting those athletes because those athletes are not supporting and representing their country.
That's
so,
right.
Sorry, you have
little hair,
hair
little
on
hair.
your shirt.
Just saying.
a little squirrely.
It's like, it's the Olympics. You put your crap behind because it's not about you or whatever. It's about your country at the Olympics.
It's about you, and you quit the team.
If they were
mental health.
if they were North Korea's team, they'd been shot already.
That's true. We
Does
don't
North
kill.
Korea have a team?
I don't know.
No, they don't have a
I'm
team.
thinking of China.
I mean, I guess you could say
It's
it's
true.
Russia, China, they're all the same.
China probably they probably get beaten. They came in third.
Terrible.
Russia came in first. Well, actually, no. Britain came in third. China didn't even make third. They're really getting beat now.
Well, no, USA is now top.
They were
and then
second.
China's second.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
no,
I'm
no,
talking about-
I'm talking about today. The updated total.
Yes,
is
I
USA's in
was just
first.
talking about when Simone. Yeah, I haven't
When
looked at
she-
anything
when
from today.
she,
When she bowed
Now,
out.
Betrayed-
Russia got the gold for women.
They got the gold.
USA
USA
She
got
gets
silver, and
Yeah.
then Britain for the first time in so many years
But
actually ranked.
Keith,
They got
you're right.
third.
We
Yeah.
do not shoot our defectors. We don't. You can proudly support your team from
These people
the
talk about
sidelines.
like.
Yes.
Well, LeBron. Not to mention, he threw a fit because they're not allowed to protest on the podium. But it's like, you're throwing a fit, but at least your country gives you the freedom to protest. These
Yeah.
other countries, if they even thought of doing that,
Yeah.
would.
You know what's funny? I
Face
really
consequences.
just wanted to
Started
thank
ditch.
people for tuning in and not watching the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I didn't really expect to
We
go
have like
on a big
2
rate.
extra
Yeah.
viewers because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, hey, it's because
Yeah.
they probably are cord cutters.
It's
and nobody has
Yeah.
cable
No,
television
they
or
have
an
us
over-the-air
They
antenna.
have us on their phone, and they have the Olympics on TV, probably.
Yes, and hey,
Yeah.
go Team USA, okay?
Yep.
For those who are competing. All right, and let's move on. Let's talk about Old. 2.5 out of 4 stars. I think Sean and I kind of.
I don't agree either, and I wrote it. So I told you
That's
all
a first, isn't it?
after. Well, no, I think
probably
Agree with
is.
your own
I
review?
think I've only ever addended a rating once.
Wow.
After the fact.
You
Are you
should've.
doing that right now?
Yeah, I'm going to knock it a half
Oh,
star.
wow.
Two.
2 out of 4.
I can't change the lower. We're keeping it at
Yeah,
2.5
yeah,
on
yeah.
the lower third right now.
I just I guess I didn't change it after I recorded it just because I was like, well, it's recorded now. I'm not gonna mess with it.
Wow.
But I did think after reading like everything with the graphic novel, I realized that the only things I really like about the movie came directly from it, and I don't want to give M. Night credit for material. Like, I mean, yes, he adapted the material, so I give him the credit there, hence the 2 stars. But I'm not going to give him an extra half star for not making worse what was already good. It's like, because all the stuff he added wasn't really that great either.
In fact, that's kind of the part of the movie that I think was the most ridiculous and the parts that made it the weakest. I mean, I kind of, again, and I think, Sean, you said it best with our Facebook post before we went and saw the movie, which was we've been on a trend of hits from M. Night.
Yeah.
And even though Glass
well,
was,
before both The Visit was good,
The Visit was like his comeback. That was his comeback into, oh, hey, he's finally back and
people
ready to go.
started paying attention again.
Right.
They're like, oh, what's this?
Well, and because it got away from the big, huge spectacle films of him trying to go beyond his more intimate nature
I swear,
of storytelling.
This is creepy. Apple and Siri are always listening. As soon as I opened up to pull up the
Olympics?
podcast, no, it says M. Night Shyamalan's highest and lowest movies by tomato meter. It's the first thing that popped up. It's like,
they're
it knew.
Listening.
It was like, oh, they're talking about M. Night. Let me show this on his
think about
iPad.
it. We are live on Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Zuck is listening to this episode.
He is watching.
And he cares enough about our opinions of old. He wants to promote.
Yep.
Hey, but is this in the middle of the pack or is this towards the bottom?
Yeah.
And this is sadly
Won't be
towards the
flagged
bottom.
for talking about Team USA, though.
We probably
for sure.
will.
Neil says he's got us up on his computer and Team USA going on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, that's
Well,
fine.
they've
That's
got
fine.
one viewer.
Yeah, they've got one viewer. But they can't beat our 2. So come on, Zuck, boost the ratings. But no, I honestly thought ultimately this kind of fits in the middle of the pack with regard to his.
It's not his worst movie, but
No,
it's
no.
not by
not
far. It's
No.
not.
The Happening, would you agree that's or
probably
would you
after
go
Earth.
after Earth?
After Earth.
Yeah. After Earth,
Yeah.
then
Then
I
The
would say The Happening.
The
Lady in
Happening
the
could
Water.
have been a good movie.
Nah. It could have, but I could say the same thing about this
I would
one.
say
Well,
After Earth.
It could. I mean, it all depends on the writing.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be After Earth.
After Earth just didn't
Last
have a shot.
Airbender.
I mean,
well, actually, I don't know.
Twilight could have been a good movie.
I don't know which one's. Anything can be a good movie. It just
No.
depends on what you do with it.
Exactly.
If you take Mark Wahlberg out of The Happening, it could have been good.
He wasn't even the worst part, though. His acting was terrible, but just the story itself was ridiculous.
It was. And
Yeah.
The trees wanted revenge, man. They just wanted revenge.
That was how I felt about
Hey.
this movie.
I mean, it happens in Lord of the Rings, like,
The Ents.
yeah.
But here's the thing.
And in Narnia.
You set up that world, though. You
Yeah.
build up to that. And
Yeah.
you don't just throw
True.
it into, like,
True.
and not only that, but it was set in
It's,
the real world.
it's a fantasy, yeah.
yeah,
It's Middle Earth
global
versus.
warming.
Because
yeah.
I was even going to give him one for Lady in the Water, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, no, I just can't.
I don't
didn't
dislike Lady in the Water. I just don't think it's very good, but I do love it for what it is, because I enjoy the terrible.
I mean, who can come up with a scrunt?
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
that may be
Like,
the
that.
Scrunt and the Great
And
Etlon may be
Well,
the only
I
reason.
thought it was Eglon.
Etlon. It's
Etlon
Etlon.
or
Etlon. I think it
Etlon.
depends, but
Yeah.
Etlon, I think it's
Etlon.
tomato,
Okay.
tomato.
I don't think they're
I
all
don't
over
think
the place.
it
yeah.
matters. But
The movie doesn't
no,
matter.
it doesn't. But here's the thing: that was an original work. It was based on a bedtime story he told his children.
Yeah.
This was based on a graphic novel, and
That was given to him by one of his
by
daughters.
one of his daughters,
So
who
it-
also
apparently
served
when-
as his second unit director on the film.
Apparently, when he makes something for his children, it just doesn't come out well.
Or I just have this feeling that it's weird because there were moments in this that were uniquely M. Night.
Yeah.
That were a joy to see
Mid-sized
again.
sedan
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Mid-sized sedan,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was good. And then, I mean,
Yeah.
just little moments and little different eerie kind of the way in which he tells a story. I like because it is mysterious. It leaves you wondering throughout the film.
yeah.
But my ultimate huge problem was there's so many too many conveniences in terms of explaining the phenomena
Yes.
or the lack thereof of evidence. It's just we're going to throw this out in the ether and say, well, this has to stick just because we need the movie to keep going and we
Yeah.
need the story to keep being told.
Yeah.
And yet I was never at all convinced by, especially not by the end of the film, that everything was explained to my liking. And even and that's the thing, I'm okay with mysteries and things not being solved by the end of a movie. You can leave open-ended questions.
Actually, when I did look up everything for the graphic novel to see the differences, I was telling Brandon yesterday, what I liked that the graphic novel did better was that there actually is never a clear explanation. The characters on the beach all speculate what's causing it, but they never actually find out why for sure. Nobody ever actually makes it off the beach.
Is the pharmaceutical angle even in the graphic novel?
It's one of the theories, but it's not.
Okay. It's not the main.
There's never a clear explanation. They come up with theories,
Well,
but
they
they
start
never
on the beach as well,
yeah,
right?
the whole graphic novel takes place only on the beach. You get there with like them arriving at the beach, and that's it. Nobody ever leaves the beach. The whole thing is just on the beach, and no one survives.
Okay.
I don't want to
spoil.
Yeah,
I don't want to
spoil
spoil
the
anything
because the ending is actually pretty good.
Decent for
I
this.
thought it was good.
Some of the stuff he made up was fine, but I think he was trying too much to explain things, and they were never well done because there were times when like, well, it's the minerals in the rock. Like, again, these are things they theorized in the graphic novel, but none of them were experts, so none of them knew for sure. In this, every character was an expert on something, so he could say, well, this is why this is happening, and it just isn't believable.
Well, I didn't feel like, and I know this isn't, obviously it's not how they, make a film, but I felt like at times they went through, they made this movie, and they were like, well, people are going to ask this question, so we got to go back and throw in a line to explain that. And it's literally just one quick line, and that's supposed to explain the whole gist of this entire.
But sometimes stories are better if you don't. Sometimes sometimes mystery is good. It's like some people will be dissatisfied. Well, you never find out why. But I kind of like stories like that sometimes, where it's like the story is what's important. The why, especially when the characters themselves are in the dark.
And Sean, you pointed out when we walked out of the theater, and it was like the first thing that we kind of caught on to was they get to the beach, and then the next thing you know, it's like it's a little quirky thing for the kid to be running around and like asking, "Hey, what's your occupation?" And it's funny and it's a joke. And then it turns out that
felt
all
like M. Night.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
And I loved
comedy
it
with the kids.
And it made what I love
Yeah.
about him and his writing with kids is he always writes them above their age. But it's like that's kind of a kid say the darndest things.
Yes.
And I love that. He doesn't treat them like just an insignificant, he actually makes them a full-on character in the story.
Yeah.
And I like that about M. Night. That's part of what makes The Sixth Sense so good with Haley Joel Osment. But one thing that really irked me was once they get to the beach and they do find out all their occupations, you have all of these people who are, you have a historian, you have a therapist, you have a doctor, you have all of these convenient,
and a nurse,
occupations on this one island or on this one beach that are now going to help explore the possibilities of basically telling you giving you as an audience member enough breadcrumbs to be like, oh, it's okay. What they just said, well, that's explanation enough because they're experts.
That never plays into the actual story, though.
No, it doesn't.
I really felt like it was. I was thinking, okay, so the nurse he's going to go and test the water and see that theory.
Yep.
The surgeon is there so he can remove the tumor. The therapist is there because there's a schizophrenic and the emotional stress of everything going on. So I'm just like, everybody's occupation is coming into.
It's like maybe they chose these people specifically because of their
occupation. But then they don't.
Right.
They don't ever use that at all.
Yeah.
And I was
True.
like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, and then exactly the fact that, and if they don't even choose them or it's by happenstance, it's like, but then it doesn't go any further than that. You don't see the therapist being a therapist. Yeah, you see a tiny bit of the surgeon being a surgeon, but it's in a really unbelievable fashion.
Even the historian is able to explain to them how the body's decomposed and how long. She's the one who basically figures out how much time is actually passing based on the decomposition of the body.
And I think that is the part where the mystery of the movie it falls flat, and I think the mystique, because I'll be honest with you. When I was watching the trailer, so much is told in the trailer, especially for a movie like this, that it doesn't leave anything to speculation when you actually sit down to watch the film. And it's kind of disappointing.
He tries to explain everything, but it's not well done.
It fails miserably.
It's very contrived.
No doubt. And even their solutions of what they can try to maybe escape.
That's what
I thought
hated.
They were just the most just ridiculous.
Well,
almost every go ahead.
I was just going to say the fact that when they try to exit the beach, they always hit an imaginary, or not an imaginary, but they hit a force field or a barrier that disorients them, knocks them out, but somehow they end up 50 feet back onto the beach.
Well,
and
because
they don't get drugged that way.
They stumble back out. They said it. They just don't show it.
They stumble back.
They walk into the cave, and because their bodies can't acclimate to the change of like time from the beach to reality, it causes them severe head pain, and then they just blindly stumble back out in the beach.
and then they're unconscious.
That was their reasoning in the movie.
It's
just very dumb.
And you explain that, and it is. It's
Yeah.
preposterous.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid. You start to try to explain it, and you're like, wait, what?
Why
And there is
wouldn't
no
one of them
explanation
just
further in the
run?
movie.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't one of them just barrel
Just
through the
go
headache
through.
and
Right.
go through and see how far they could get?
And then, okay, and it's funny because you just said run, and the first scene that popped in my head,
yeah.
and this is the other problem.
Yeah.
So let alone all the mysterious things happening to their bodies and them aging, it's also the fact that they have these action scenes that are never paid off. They don't pay off at all.
That was what I was going to bring up, was the fact that every scenario where they're in danger, I just wanted them to die because they deserved it. Because
Yes.
because every logical thought they would have to get out of danger was the dumbest. It's like you people just deserve to die because,
it was
like you were
watching
saying, like
Sleepaway Camp. Like
Yeah.
it was bad.
let me just lay here and let this
Yeah.
bad thing happen to
Yes.
me.
Yeah, even at the beginning, it's like girl gets naked and goes for a swim. It's like she's gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, she
Yeah,
was
well, I'm
she
just
was
like, let's
trying to
just
find. I
retell
don't know why she
Jaws.
had to get naked to try to escape by swimming because they was like that must have been what
True.
she was doing. She was trying to swim out. It's
No,
like, but,
I think that she was just getting naked because she was trying to entice mid-sized sedan to get in her.
but they said the only reason she went
exactly
swimming
what she
was
was
to
doing.
try to
Yeah.
escape. It's like okay, so she was swimming to escape.
What?
But yeah, they said.
Well,
mid-sized sedan says that.
yeah, he said she was trying to swim out and she never
no,
came back.
No, he just says she
No.
swam out and
Oh.
like
it was
an
the
Olympic
nurse.
swimmer.
The nurse
Yeah.
said it's like that
Swam
must
out
have been
as
what
far
she
as
was
they could
doing
go.
was trying to escape.
And I was going to
She
say
wasn't.
Yeah.
She was
they
just
were
going
just
for a swim.
hypothesizing. that.
I don't know. I think it was intended that's what she was supposed to be doing. I
Because she
just think it was
clearly,
done.
like, again, another fault. Gosh, each one of these is rounding me to another thought I had in the
Yeah.
film, but at bad editing.
Mhm.
Like, when you're introduced to even that person and him, it's literally this moment of you see them getting to the resort, the family that the main story focuses on. You see them arriving. They're kind of getting a handle on, just in general, people around the island and around the resort.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, I guess sun goes down, they go to sleep, but then we cut to this woman on the beach getting naked, and
hey,
we don't know who this guy
I
is
wasn't
that's sitting
upset
here
at the
watching.
moment.
No.
Well, no, but you're just again, it's like that mixed into random. It just it's cut into the movie randomly.
Yeah.
And then we cut away, and it's only when they go to the beach later on that we find out, okay, yes, this was the beach they were going to, but no question as to why he got there. Did somebody drop him off? Did they stumble upon it?
Yeah.
He even says, like, he's like, yeah, I just met this girl. Like, we were chilling and we wanted to have a good time. And
talking
I'm just
about
like,
our problems or talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
their
yeah,
sicknesses or their illnesses.
and I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, okay. And y'all like came here, but then and not only that, but I'm like, by the time we realize the effects of the beach,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem to have that after having been there for
He doesn't seem to even
several
know about it.
hours.
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, they were there overnight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how's he not old?
I don't know. I have no clue.
There's another plot hole right there.
There really is.
They
there was
literally.
a lot.
She went swimming at night, did
Yeah.
she not?
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Well,
tried
I
to
think it was like dusk, or not dusk. I think it was dawn. I think the sun was coming up.
Maybe
She's
that's
going
what.
swimming.
Maybe.
But even then, even if they got there right at the crack of dawn,
Yeah.
it's still a question of. But he's there for almost 12 hours before they get there.
Yeah.
Even if they get
maybe.
there at 7 or 8 in the morning, he's been there for 3 or 4
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't age
if
faster
if he
than
was
they
there,
do.
If he was there 2 hours, he would have shown.
Yes.
No,
unless he
no,
got there when he was
no,
a kid.
No, he wouldn't have. Remember his line in the movie? He was black, so that they don't show ages. He said that.
Oh,
remember?
no,
and he
yes.
did.
Yeah, he
He's
did.
like the one
Yeah.
time white people wish they were black.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because they don't
Black
show
don't
their
crack.
age.
Yeah, exactly.
He mentioned they don't
Yeah.
show aging as much. So.
And it was funny. Like
Yeah.
again,
The way it was delivered was
certain
funny.
lines
Yeah.
like that
there
were
were
funny.
good moments, but there wasn't enough to save the film because I feel like he couldn't resist his worst urges in this movie. M. Night, like
True.
some of the things that he just trying to make things more like one to try to add the thriller aspect, trying to create a twist that didn't exist in the graphic novel. I think it was kind of like with Lady in the Water and The Happening, where he was like, okay, I've been doing this so I can go back to doing this twist, like suspenseful film, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
but if it doesn't need that, then don't do that.
Well, he makes his films are like kind of like puzzles. Like you see the
Yeah.
pieces and you get an idea of what the picture is going to be, but you don't exactly know how they fit together. And it's like with Lady in the Water, you had the one guy with the huge arm.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, well, why is he doing this? And then, of course, it comes into play later.
Yeah.
Right.
Not in a very good way.
Yeah.
But it's still, I appreciate that about his earlier films. And I really felt like that's where we were headed with the occupations
Well,
and with their illnesses.
especially
and all
after
of that.
we
and then
saw
it ends up being just it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
It's all just a letdown.
especially after we've seen Split and Glass and them use the strengths of and here's the thing, I think in that order it's like Glass is the worst, Split's in the middle, and Unbreakable still the best out of those three.
Yeah, definitely.
But to have a cohesive story and be told, it at least was like, okay.
And none of them are bad.
No,
I mean,
none
yeah,
of
I
them
agree
are
Glass is the
terrible.
worst, but I mean, yeah, they definitely, I thought all of them are way better than this movie for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it's still interesting that it's like, okay, we thought with The Visit, Split, and Glass, we were back into traditional M. Night thinking through. That was the thing about when he was putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Like you said, he's laying it out for you, giving you glimpses here and there. At the end, it feels like it all comes together, connects, and it's well woven. In this, it just seemed like a hodgepodge of, okay, no, we're going to throw out all of these little speculative things, but this is where the story ends, and really none of that other crap mattered.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, then what was
None
was
of the
nature
characters
of this?
mattered. I mean, you had the Kappas that had a decent backstory, but none of the other characters had anything going for them that you would care whether they lived or died.
Yeah.
Well, and their story was the most cohesive to the point where it at least made me think, okay, if this story was just about them, I would have been fine. The only reason you added in these other characters was to create this drama of all these different predicaments.
Yeah.
And like you said, to set up these red herrings of, do the occupations come into play, or how does it affect this type of person with this type of disability?
Well, even
all of these
even
different
the marital problem that the family has, like between the husband and wife, like she was cheating and this and that and the other. I'm like, even that never really flowered into anything good or meaningful. Like he gives you the little hint of it when they're in the vehicle on the way to the resort,
right,
where they're just and then when they get in the hotel, they're like, should we tell them and all this kind of stuff. It's like, okay, so they're getting a divorce, they're splitting up or whatever, like we get it, but it never it comes into like a culmination with this moment where they're both old.
Yeah, I think
and
that's
it's
what
like
he was
there's a
trying
little
to
bit
do.
of,
was
That's
create-
exactly
they're
what he was
old. They
trying to do.
he forgives her. They forgive each
And he's
other.
like, I don't remember why we were mad at each other anymore.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
just like,
but it was
It was
one
supposed
of-
to be a heartwarming moment,
and
but
it
wasn't.
sucked.
Yeah.
And
No.
that's what made me mad because I saw the moment for what it was, and I guess from my own hope of what I wanted it to be, I filled in the gaps. But I was like, this could have been such a really good, powerful moment if you had better actors and
the
better
acting
writing.
was terrible.
The acting
yeah.
was god awful.
yeah,
It really was
from everybody.
yeah, true.
I mean, really.
The one guy from Lost, he was okay.
The nurse, yeah. He was
The nurse,
okay.
he was all right. And then I don't know the black. I thought Midsize Sedan was fine.
He was fine. The daughter was okay.
Yeah.
From Jojo
Thomasin
Rabbit. Yeah,
McKenzie, I
yeah.
think.
She did
Midsize
fine.
sedan, that
yeah.
just gets me.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
like,
That was good.
What's wrong with your nose? He's like, I don't know. It's been doing that since I got here. And I'm like, are you serious?
Well, he did know because he had a clotting disorder.
yeah.
He doesn't. His blood doesn't clot. So
Yeah. And,
So he is lying to him.
that, or they was just
he didn't find out till
M.
he
Night
got
was
on
just
there.
stupid.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Because I thought the nurse or somebody said something to him. It was like the nurse. Or
No,
the
he said
doctor.
it's been bleeding for 2 hours,
That's
and then the
right.
pharmaceutical company, I think it mentions that like him having blood clot because they said we lost the information on our blood clotting victim
That's
thanks
it,
to
yeah.
the schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to give any more away, but
yeah.
again, if you,
Even the pharmacy
I
angle
guess
was
it's-
interesting,
It
but
was. It was.
But I would have.
It's just
to
poorly
me,
done.
If they
It was just a
would
quick
not
wrap.
have shown the people watching them.
yeah,
It would have
they
been
would-
even
well,
better.
If they
You know
would've
what?
Just give them this one spot where it's like, what's that shining up there, and then you don't
Well,
touch it again
and
until
even-
the end.
Yeah.
and then
even
you're
if
like,
they
oh
would've
my God, it was
used
a
it.
guy up there watching them.
yes,
Yeah.
But
even
they show him 3 or 4 times.
even if they would have, would have been a copy of, but even if they would have used the, like on Lost when they are on the beach and they find the cable
Yeah.
and the cable's going out into the ocean, and it's
yeah.
like, where is this guy?
Yeah.
Little hints here and
Yeah.
there of somebody's been here before.
you know what it-
And somebody's watching us, or there's
Yeah.
this little receiver. What is this? Little hints like that, and then boom,
Yeah.
hit us over the head with it at the end.
What the ending reminded me of, but nowhere near as epic or as amazingly done. Like with them, like in the pharmacy in the moment, it reminded me of Cabin in the Woods with everybody watching
Oh,
the
yeah.
monitors and the
Yeah.
horror.
Yes.
And I was like, only that was way better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that,
Much better.
was Joss Whedon.
Yes, it
wasn't
was.
Yeah.
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 Well, he wrote and produced. Drew
didn't-
Goddard directed.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is someone he's worked with on several of his shows before. So
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. Well, there you have it from us.
We're all in agreement now.
2. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fade out. I'm gonna take off the lower and just say 2 out of 4 stars for Old.
it's.
You don't really have to go
I'm-
see it.
It's definitely one I won't watch again.
If you're an M. Night fan, it's worth checking out just to see what,
Is it?
But other than
Is
that, yeah, I don't know. I really was disappointed walking away, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't hate it. I was glad I saw it, but it was not a good movie.
No.
It was not a good movie at all. Alrighty, guys, I think we're going to move on then.
Let's
Finally,
do it.
To our headlines. Let's roll that beautiful open. Okay. All right.
That is getting old. It's getting old.
He
It just
hates
gets
it.
longer every week.
I know.
It's like 30 seconds that we could be talking about that.
That's
headline.
okay. That's what's great about it.
Wait, that's getting old? Is that what you said?
That just makes me want to do it more now.
I'm just
Do
gonna
it
take my
more.
headphones off every time.
Every
now.
time.
That's
fine.
good. That's fine.
And all our listeners at home, look, we were just cheering on the Olympic teams. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
I think by now people
That's-
know when it gets to the headlines, turn your volume down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just mute it.
Yeah.
Mute
That's
it if
why
you don't want to
Neil-
hear.
That's why I put it on the computer and not the big TV.
I don't know
Yeah.
why.
The Olympics
Yeah.
are getting the TV over us because of that.
Neil,
I don't think so.
He
they've
just-
already
he
heard
just
you
said, he said,
screaming.
How's your ears, Sean?
They're
See,
bleeding.
Neil's enjoying it. Yeah.
They're bleeding.
He's enjoying your
likes-
pain.
He likes my pain. All the way from Boston.
Neil was
Your
in
pain
his
is
apartment.
his pleasure.
Neil was in his apartment yelling lines for Margaret's Monsters. I think he can take the volume of our
Yeah.
scatting when we do the headlines open. I'm just saying.
Hope we don't
When
play
they move
scat.
to a new house, he definitely can.
Oh, yeah.
He can definitely enjoy it there. Should we move on to our headlines?
Yes.
All right. Our headlines this week. We got a few major ones.
Yeah, they're actually
There's some
pretty
good
interesting
ones.
ones. I like them.
The first one I want to talk about, which I don't want to get.
Are they in order this week?
Yes, I don't want to
Okay.
get too long-winded about this one, just because again, the box office can be something that's a little bit of a.
I find this one really interesting, which is why
Yeah.
I asked if we're doing them in order because it's the theater, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Cinema is not back.
It's not back.
As much as Vin Diesel had claimed it with F9, families are staying home.
Families.
Right?
I mean, just from
Go to
us
the
going to
movies.
the theater, I could there's still not a lot of people there. So yeah, I agree. Like they're not fully back yet. People aren't returning in droves, and
Yeah.
they probably won't now that. Now you have people saying that we're going to have another round. We might have to close things down again. You need to wear your masks again. So that just scares more people to not going back to the theater because now it's like, oh, we might have to have another mask mandate
Well,
and
that's the
shut
point.
things down.
That's the point.
Yeah,
To scare people.
Yep.
I agree. And I mean, how do you open things back up? It's like here we have like the most open we've been, and now businesses and theaters are hearing, oh, well, you might have to shut down again.
No, they want more businesses to be indebted to the government.
Well, I think it is about it's the control, and it's about bending to your to a certain will of if we can dictate this kind of behavior, then
Hey,
again,
the CDC
it's like
backtracked. They
the-
said even people who've been
Oh, I
vaccinated
know.
might
I
need to
know.
wear
I
masks
know.
indoors.
And it's-
some people who have
well,
been
again,
vaccinated.
and it's like how many revisions of their rules and their regulations do we have to go through before the blind stop leading the blind and the sheep wake up and say, okay, I'm not following you anymore. I'm actually going to follow the science.
Yeah.
Because the science actually does not fall in line with them. But nobody's holding them accountable.
well, it's
and
Sean's fault
nobody's
because he
holding-
won't get vaccinated.
Hey,
Whoa, hey, every Red Moon
HIPAA
employee.
violation right there.
I'm joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
you just told him his medical info.
I'm
Yeah.
joking. I didn't
How-
say it was true or not. I was just joking.
Last time I checked, I
I just think-
mandated every Red Moon employee
you
get
did.
vaccinated.
We have our cards.
Sean has been vaccinated.
I identify.
I just
as
think it's
vaccinated.
funny because that's
I
kind
stuck
of
it in him myself.
I only mentioned Sean because he brought this point up. I know I said I only mentioned Sean's name specifically because he had mentioned this point up in the past, and that's the point that people who aren't wanting to get vaccinated are now becoming the
Blame.
scapegoats.
Yeah.
You're the
Oh, absolutely.
The media is saying, well, this is the fault of all these stubborn people and all these, and they specifically still say most of them
They're
Trump.
Trump
Yes,
supporters. Yeah.
that's what I say. The people who are the diehard Trump supporters, they
Yeah.
won't get vaccinated,
Well,
and they're causing
it's
this
the
problem.
Trump supporters who are believing the misinformation. And I don't want to get off on a political tangent, but it's
No,
sad to
no, but
say
still.
that these political
I haven't
instances.
been misinformed.
No,
I don't
no,
trust it.
you haven't been.
Anything they're telling me
Well,
I have to do,
Here's
I don't
what
trust
pisses
it.
me off. I don't give a shit if you have been
If
misinformed.
they let
it
it
is
go,
your
I would
personal
probably do it.
choice.
Well, it is. It's your
to
person.
not get
It's
vaccinated.
My body,
anybody's
my
personal
choice.
choice.
Yeah.
My body, my choice.
Where are they now? Where are those same assholes that should be spouting the same exact mantra,
Yep.
but they're not? And they can't be intellectually honest. And you want to talk about misinformation, it's those who are not intellectually honest with themselves or with the actual scientific facts. The point is regardless of what my individual right is, if I do not want to get the vaccine, and I am not mandated to, which I shouldn't be, then I don't get it. And guess who's at risk? I am.
Yep.
I am for not having gotten
I
it.
put myself at risk
You
when I
are
smoke
taking-
a cigar every Tuesday. I'll
Yes.
put myself at risk for COVID too.
Yep. And here's the thing.
I'd rather get
as
that
long
than
as
everything you
every
do-
person who is conscious and saying, I am electing to not get the vaccine, you know what? That is your right.
Actually-
Because the vaccine is available for those who want to go and get it, for those who actually want to not spread it or even not be affected by it, those who have gotten it after getting vaccinated, very minimal, small cases, and even those, most of them have not been hospitalized, a very, very small amount.
Yeah.
When you're talking about 300 million people.
97% of everybody who gets it
Well-
isn't hospitalized.
At this point, absolutely
And
not.
like they've said, even with the Delta variant, they've said that those who have been vaccinated, it's still very. I mean, it's
I love
not
the
as
title.
effective.
Like, I just love it. It's just like they make it sound so
Yeah.
it's the Delta.
The
variant.
Delta. But they said the vaccine and those who've been vaccinated it is still very effective
Yeah.
against the Delta
Wait till we
variant.
get to the Gamma variant.
The
I'm just
Gamma
saying, I'm
variant.
telling you,
Gamma.
it's
Oh my
coming.
God.
I'm gonna be the Hulk. I got the gamma.
I got the Gamma.
It will. It'll turn
but
you green.
any choice you make, no matter how minuscule, comes with some type of consequence.
Yeah. Hey,
And
let's talk about the
every
movie
time,
theater.
well, that's I was getting there. So I was trying to work.
Okay.
I was trying to work us back there. And no matter what you do, whether you're going to the theater or not, I mean, you make that decision.
Yeah.
And all this is going to do is pit. I mean, we've already seen like the theater that's been throwing shade at Disney for Black Widow. I'm like, well, you lost out on a lot of money, but can they keep that fight up when? If you scare people away from going to the theater, it's like,
Yeah.
well, that just gives Disney more reason
Right.
not
Yep.
to put movies
if
in
people
theaters.
have to wear a mask, they're not going to come back to the theater.
Well, again,
Period.
and not only that, but you're also you're taking away the validity of the argument to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
If you're going to tell me that I have to still mask up, then what is the point
What's
of
the
getting
point?
the vaccine?
Yeah.
What am I actually saving myself from if I'm still at risk?
Ask it,
And
yeah.
if that's the case, well, then I'm at risk to not go out anywhere and not support these businesses. So again, regardless of whether or not you institute a lockdown, by virtue of the fact of signaling to certain people, either it's directly related to you and your irresponsibility, well, now you're really going to make me stubborn and say, well, screw you, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
And two, you're also now questioning the validity and the efficacy of the vaccine and its ability to vaccinate me.
Yeah.
So why would I get it then? So it's a double whammy. And I understand why cinemas and theaters are skeptical. And again, look who's not hurting. The people who aren't hurting are these production companies. Either they can sit on it long enough. Yeah, we know that they need the money.
Yeah.
But now that they've got models, especially the bigger production companies, have these models to get it directly to the consumers, again, you're affecting theater owners. And we've seen exactly what happens in the instance of those who are fans of just either going to the theater or a certain, saga that comes out, whether it's Black Widow or F9.
There are so many movies that have already been pushed back and delayed that, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like, look, even the studios, I mean, yeah, they can afford to sit on it for a while, but at some point, it's like, look, you have to release these movies.
I don't think.
I mean,
they
we've been
can
waiting for
afford another
Ghostbusters.
round.
Yeah, we've been waiting on Ghostbusters for
I know.
almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
They're
Yep.
supposed to release at the beginning of 2020, and now it's going to be the end of 2021 when we
Yeah.
finally
and
see it.
And all of this kind of makes us sound like we're saying like these movies are more important than people's
They are. They are.
well-being or whatever.
Some of
Ghost
them are.
like-
Ghostbusters.
It's like the only problem with COVID is not how many people have died. It's that Ghostbusters hasn't come out
That's-
yet.
that's my
That's not
point.
what we're saying at all. It's just no, you're
No,
not.
no, it's
I know what's in your heart.
It's the ridiculous. It's the ridiculous.
I'm just saying, there's a few people I might
comparison.
trade for Ghostbusters.
well,
I said a few.
yeah.
Well, if that was the case, you wouldn't have got vaccinated, and you would have caught it and spread
Yeah.
it to them.
But that was the whole
Maybe.
thing. Everybody was saying, get out, get the vaccine so that we can demask,
Yep.
so that we can go back to normal.
Yep.
And now everybody's done. Not everybody, but most people have done that. And
not
you're still
70,
not going to let
not
us go back to normal.
70%. They didn't hit it. We're
Well.
we're only at 60. That 10%
well,
matters.
and that's the problem. The problem is that each of these goalposts, whether they were
95% won't be enough.
whether it's to completely eradicate the disease, and that's not
Which
possible.
is impossible, yeah.
You're not going to completely ever get rid of
I'm
this.
pretty sure the flu still exists.
It sure does, and there's a reason why we have to
And-
get a different flu shot.
and it
every
has a
year.
new variant every year. And
Exactly.
so, like, how long are they going to keep? Now it's another variant of COVID. It's like, yeah,
Well,
that's what
and
diseases do.
that's-
They change.
That's the problem, is the practicality of getting back to quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
The fact is that when you have people who are dying on a daily rate more from Alzheimer's than COVID, but you don't see that as a headline.
More people
today
Yeah.
died of Alzheimer's
Yeah.
disease than of COVID.
Yeah.
But that's not the headline. It's the Delta variant's coming. We need to mask up before we have an outbreak. It's all the unvaccinated's fault. We didn't hit our goal. Now life can't go back to normal. It's hysteria. And it is the
cats
reason
and
why.
dogs living together.
Mass
Mass hysteria. It's so
that second trailer, man.
laughable.
Oh, I know.
I haven't seen it
If
yet.
you haven't seen the new Ghostbusters,
I haven't
Afterlife
seen it
trailer,
yet.
I creamed my
watch it.
pants.
Oh, I know.
I don't want to watch it
Oh,
though.
it
I'm
had
like,
so
I'm-
much nostalgia in
but
it.
that's why I don't want to
Freaking
watch it.
Janine was in it.
No,
I was
don't
like,
say
oh
nothing.
My God.
Don't say
Well,
nothing.
all of the original
Uh.
cast except for Harold Ramis
Harold
is
I'm
back.
just saying I'm taking.
Well, and-
They haven't showed him in the trailer yet,
no,
though.
they've only
Just her.
They've and they did
And-
show not face, just the hand answering the phone in this new trailer.
I don't remember that part.
Oh, you don't like they
Was
call
it an African American
Don't-
hand?
No. I'm talking about Aykroyd.
Oh, well, how do you know it was his hand?
Well, because the door was his bookshop from the original. It said his bookshop, and he picks up the phone. and He said, "Sorry, we're closed."
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I gotta watch it again.
I just want to watch it.
It was
now,
great.
but I don't. I want
But
to be
it did lead me
surprised
to
when it
believe
comes out.
because everything they're hinting at is that these kids are the grandkids of Egon, which would
Yep.
be great because
Egon
he
and
passed.
Janine, yeah.
And it seems like that maybe because they did have that fling in the first movie. So I'm like, this
Yep.
is really cool. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
those
excited.
spores, molds, and fungus really got it.
Yeah. It looks really well
As
done.
long as he didn't
Yeah,
pass that
It's-
on.
It
Yeah.
looks, really well done. Jason Reitman, son of original director Ivan Reitman, who is producing. So it's like you have both of them working on this together.
Well, and after
mean-
the abysmal Ghostbusters, whatever the hell that
I have
was,
some-
Answer the call.
answer the call.
Even the special effect, because they show off a little bit more of like some of the supernatural effects in this movie. Even
Yeah.
that, like it looks modern, but
Very
it still
much
looks.
in line with
Yes.
the first movie.
It looks like everything
Yes.
from the first two movies, but just cleaner because it's modern. And I'm like, this looks good. Like it looks like Ghostbusters.
it looks like a natural evolution.
The
of
ghosts
of
look like Ghostbusters. The beams, the lights, all of
we're
it.
just talking about Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
You want to move to the next headline?
that's true.
Well,
true.
we can.
Yeah.
Look, cinema's
Sorry,
not back.
we nerded out.
Sadly, we should have led with Ghostbusters because
Yeah.
that's a more topic.
I'm
like
just
a-
really
a better
excited.
topic to
my
start
my
with.
inner child is super excited
Yep.
about this.
Yep.
We will continue to watch the box office results, but the fact is they both F9 and Black Widow both saw a 70% drop
They
in
did.
its second week, which is not
And,
good.
and F9 doesn't have a streaming service to blame it on.
Nope, they came out solely. So it really is
Yeah.
a question of people are going back who want to go back, and then nobody's
Everyone who
going
wants
the
to go
second
back
week.
goes the first week, and that's kind
I
of
think
it.
the article that we linked to in the description is going to be. They call them the popcorn poppers. They're
Yeah.
the people who just show up because they just want to see a movie, and so they just go out for a night, and
Yep.
that's one of the things they choose to do, and they're not showing up. Alrighty, guys, let's move on to our second headline, which this one's interesting too. So, obviously, Suicide Squad is our next big superhero film coming out not this week,
Super excited.
but next week.
Yeah.
Or all of us are looking forward to it. We'll definitely be reviewing it here on the show.
Yeah.
But James Gunn has sounded off on superhero films.
And I agree.
Hasn't gotten as much flack like Scorsese did, but maybe that's because Gunn has already directed Guardians of the
Well, he's
Galaxy and is doing
Proven himself,
Suicide
and he
Squad.
makes a good point.
Yeah, and so he kind of went after superhero films, and he was like, look, the ones that I've seen lately are getting stale, they're getting boring, and I just don't want to see the franchise go the way of the dodo bird yet.
Yeah.
I want it
Well, it's
to...
like any mass, like when you had when westerns were popular, and then they died
That's
because
what
they
he-
just
yeah.
they became generic and boring.
And war films.
Yeah, war
He
films.
brings up the war films.
Space films. I mean, those have had a boon, but
Yep.
these last few years we've seen those get popular again. But they've all been generic.
Well,
all
and
the
he-
ones
he-
we've reviewed have been
He
generic.
points to the staples of, Superman was a superhero film that launched,
Mm-hmm.
what he thought, okay, this took it to new heights. you know, and then
Tim Burton's Batman.
He doesn't specifically mention
No,
that
but that
one,
was still
but that was
another
a
one,
huge
yeah.
one. But then he says, really, if you jump ahead from Superman to Iron Man,
Yeah.
that was one where he saw him actually flying around, and it was no longer, you know, a green screen and a guy on strings, but it was actually a type of film that saw the medium and the genre move forward.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, these are the types of leaps and bounds he wants to see the genre make that will create at least more interest and give people, I think, a greater respect for superhero films than just passing them over as dumb popcorn flicks.
Yeah.
And he even goes on to say about his latest film, Suicide Squad, he doesn't just call it a superhero film. And I forget what he, in the article, what
The
he
term he
specifically
used,
calls
yeah.
it.
Big board adventure. He dubbed a spectacle war film.
A spectacle war film.
Yeah.
So, and again, you can go in and dive into all the little subgenres that I think a lot of directors try to apply to their films.
Even Marvel's best films, like Winter Soldier, was kind of an espionage superhero film.
Yeah.
And it's like when you can do that and combine. That's one reason I'm looking forward to Doctor Strange. Is it's supposed to have kind of that horror aspect with Sam Raimi, who's really good at that. So I'm excited because it's like I like to see them incorporate different genres into the superhero genre.
That's exactly what we knocked. I think a lot of the lower end superhero Marvel films that we
like
have
Thor:
seen.
The Dark World.
Thor: The Dark
yeah,
World.
yeah.
You talked
Captain
about
Marvel was very
thought
generic.
Captain Marvel was.
It was.
I know. I don't like to say that because I know you guys liked it more than I did. Like bashed
no,
that
it's
movie,
not.
I didn't hate it, but I mean, I don't think
was
it's not.
okay.
It's not their best film at all
because it was an origin film, but it's not one that I would rewatch over and over.
It's one where like they're really going to have to do something brilliant with the sequel. Otherwise, I'm just not going to give a crap
Doctor
about
Strange.
that franchise.
You just mentioned that one.
Yeah,
And
the first one was okay,
but it wasn't. It didn't dive as deep
But
into the.
there's a reason they got rid of Scott Derrickson and hired Sam Raimi, and I think Marvel's usually pretty good about that. Just like, oh, this is a little bland. Let's see if we can get someone with a little bit more flavor
Right.
to direct
Right.
the next
They
movie.
do what DC doesn't do.
right. They actually
they make changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make changes based on what they expect from. I mean, that's why I think Black Widow was so good. We talked about how it had the edgier content and the darker story.
It was more of kind of like a spy, like Mission Impossible with a Marvel film. Which I mean, towards the first half, the last half became kind of more generic Marvel. But still,
And again, I think he's got much more street cred, just from having directed Guardians of the Galaxy and making again. He really was the first in the Marvel line of films to go beyond just the more worldly, more, I would say, subdued and kind of grounded type of reality.
He set a trend that Marvel really, because I mean, after him, then they brought in Taika Waititi for Thor, which was really good. The Russo brothers. It's like they kind of like, okay, we can give things a little bit more personality and let directors put a little bit of a different spin on this. It doesn't have to be, Iron Man 2 and Thor 2 and the ones that were just generic sequels.
Absolutely, yeah. And so I don't know. I'm looking forward to Suicide Squad. I think James Gunn is at least one of those unique voices. I think the director who did Shazam is another one of those. I had high hopes for DC with Patty Jenkins and Wonder Woman, but sadly Wonder Woman 84
Wonder Woman.
That was good. I like that. Oh, see, when you hit him out of the park. All right, let's move on to our third and final headline, which we were talking about. The Exorcist.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this one. I'm intrigued.
Made a deal. Universal just made a deal with Peacock for $400 million for three Exorcist films, a trilogy. And my question is okay, we had a slew of Exorcist sequels.
Yeah.
The original's the only one.
The original was good. Some of the sequels were okay. Like 2 was okay, but yeah, they just got dumber and dumber, as most older horror movies did.
Do we really need this?
Well, here's the,
for
$400
million. Was this a deal worth
If you
making?
notice, it's a trend. And it's funny because they actually got the director of. I was going to say it started with Halloween, but they got that director to. He's the one that's going to be.
And Danny McBride is also involved in writing, which he was in
with
producing
Halloween
and writing.
But Halloween started the trend. It's like let's make a sequel to the original. We'll ignore all the other sequels, and this will be a direct sequel to the original Halloween. Yeah. They're now doing that with Candyman. We're going to ignore all the sequels. This one will just be a direct sequel to the original Candyman
movie.
Yes,
it's like Blumhouse.
So
if it's horror, they are on it.
Yeah. They are.
That's
so
it.
now it's like, well, let's ignore all the Exorcist sequels, and we'll make a direct sequel to the original. And I'm not absolutely opposed to the idea, but at some point, it's like some movies just. Halloween's fine to be a franchise. Candyman's fine to be a franchise. Exorcist never needed to be more than one movie.
Nope. And honestly, it's so good that it shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
That was really in the
It's
the
like,
heyday
it's like the Omen.
of
They made a bunch of Omen
right,
movies. That
yeah.
never needed to be more
the
than one movie.
film was enough. But it's like The Exorcist is such a classic film that it was really one of those movies that should have been untouchable.
Yeah.
But because it was
an
made at the
Oscar.
time,
It's one of the only horror.
I know.
like-
but it's like, and it's funny because this is what I thought was weird about the deal, which I know money and inflation, especially this day and age, changes. But it's like the original, since its release, has garnered $412 million in total, revenue.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm like, well, they just paid $400 for these 3 sequels. They sure as hell hope that they're making that money back on
Yeah.
these 3 sequels.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you would think that they would with that kind of, property. But even still, I mean, I can't even say the same. They mentioned it in the article about, Netflix just having made the same kind of $400 million deal with Knives Out and getting those 2 sequels to appear on their streaming services. And I'm like, but is this like, again, throwing darts at, I mean, this seems like a lot of money for things that are not
I don't even
necessarily
know
going to pay off.
That I just don't even think that needs a sequel.
I don't
it's
either.
A one story. I mean,
I could see how that would work. And plus, it's recent. It just released, so they know it was well done. Ryan Johnson's coming back to the sequels. I can kind of get it if you're going for like it's only about this detective doing different cases. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
A
now
modern Agatha Christie.
Yeah, a modern Agatha, like with Poirot, who they've done 2 movies of now that neither one were that great.
Yeah.
Hercule
yeah.
Poirot, Orient Express,
Yep.
and River
something
Nile. Yeah.
Murder on the Nile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
what it's called?
Yes.
It was Murder on the Orient Express, and I forget what the River Nile one was. Something River Nile, yeah.
I can't remember, but it was the 2
Yeah.
murder mystery
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
where
Yeah,
you're trying to solve
yeah.
them throughout.
So it's like, I get it. You're trying to make your own modern, detective stories. I still think that I can understand why you would front the money for 2 sequels for that up front, as opposed to The Exorcist, which was made in the 70s, never had a really good sequel. So now it's kind of a bigger gamble that if we don't knock the first one out of the park, well, then we've wasted money for sequels that nobody's going to be wanting to see.
yeah, and that's what I think, which we've always kind of questioned Netflix's deals in that regard.
Yeah, they
because
spend
it's
more.
like for how much they're
We've
spending.
been operating in the red forever because we just throw money at whatever.
We know, and the funny thing is their stocks actually took a huge hit this past, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Where because the fact that they actually lost subscribers, and that wasn't supposed to happen, especially right after the pandemic.
Well,
and it's like,
when you
I'm
keep
sorry,
canceling things people want to see, and now you keep making like more and more of what they make is no longer quality, or it's some type
or
of.
there's just too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's too much content
Yeah.
to actually view.
Well, another thing you got to think about too is I have never received a year of Netflix for free.
Nope.
Apple TV, HBO
Well, no,
Max.
it doesn't even have to be a
almost
year.
All of them are giving you
Some subscription for free.
Yeah, half a year or a year, or
Just
you
a
can-
trial.
Or with AT&T and Verizon, you with
Yeah.
one or the other, you get Apple TV for life, or you get HBO Max for life, and it's like that's a deal that you can't get with Netflix anywhere. And it's like, so I feel like there's other streaming services that are being much more competitive, not
Yeah.
only in their pricing but in their
And you know what
in their
Netflix would say?
deals.
They have to.
Yeah.
They would be like,
have
well,
to get
we're
subscribers.
the premium.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
the premium
But
service.
here's the thing.
Everybody gets
These
us.
other services, they may not be making as much as Netflix, but some of the things they are making, they are trying to ensure are a higher quality, like Netflix used to when they started doing originals. Now, like you said, Netflix makes so much that it doesn't matter if it's good or not. They could just
Right.
throw money. It doesn't matter.
Well, again,
if-
Netflix knows its days are numbered when they look at how much content past and even present the other studios have. Netflix has to compete in that sphere because one day when all these other streaming
Have their
services
own.
have their own and they no longer have to whore themselves out to get it on Netflix, it's like, okay, well, now you don't have to go there to find something.
But that's fine. But then you need to know your audience. When you make shows like He-Man, that pisses everybody off because you can't. It's like, yeah. It's, but I'm just saying, it's like
true.
It's quit making garbage. Or when you tap
But
into
is
that
is
nostalgia.
using the proper pronouns? Can they even make that?
I
Well,
know.
it's actually he's not in the title. It's Masters of the Universe Revelation.
Oh, they did that on
Oh,
purpose.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they did because he's only in the show for like 2 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say.
I don't want to spoil
Is it
stuff, but yeah,
Z-Man?
it's not about He-Man.
It will be someday.
Zerman?
Let me say,
Yeah.
after this series,
Mm.
it is Z-Man.
Z-Man.
Oh, God.
I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I haven't watched it, so I don't know.
Let's just say if the Rotten Tomato score is any indicator, which anytime
It's
there's
got like
that
a
vast,
90% by critics and a 30% by users.
Oh,
it's
yeah, that says it all.
huge
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah.
That tells you right there.
You could tell why the critics love it.
So it's woke AF.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
You know immediately when you see that big of a gap.
All of the burly He-Man heroes, they're just dumb men, and it's really the women that save that. The whole show's about Tila. It's not about He-Man. So
And there's only 6 episodes.
there's only 6 episodes, but still, it's like they. I don't want to spoil anything, but they get rid of He-Man pretty quick.
Can they even call it Masters of the Universe? Doesn't that
Should be
signify
Mistress
slavery?
of the Universe. Yeah.
Well, how come she? How come she?
Well,
can't
because
be a master?
they're mastering
What's wrong
the
with that?
universe, not people. It's okay if you conquer.
Oh.
Actually, I don't know because then that shouldn't be some environmental thing, right? You can't conquer the world and the universe.
universe.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Well, you can if you
That's
are
not
the bad
okay.
guy, because he would be.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
write a letter.
aren't we all a little bit like? Is it Skeletor?
Skeletor.
Skeletor.
Yeah, aren't we all a little bit like Skeletor?
I'm really disappointed because
See,
you know.
that's, to me, if I was anorexic, I'd be offended by Skeletor.
Yeah.
Actually, he was always buff too, though, which is always funny. It's like
if I had
He-Man
an
was
eating
always like
disorder, I'd be like,
Skeletor was ripped and he just had the skull.
same for me. Yeah. Hey, that 90s
Master at Arms.
that movie with Dolph Lundgren or however
Yes.
his name, that was amazing.
Yes,
I love that
yes.
movie.
I mean,
It
it's
was
it's
just
terrible,
classic,
but
like,
it's
Gwildor.
terrible in a great way. Yeah.
Well, and I think
Which
that's,
was basically just what's
So
his
good.
name in the show? I don't know why they just didn't use the character from the show.
Gwildor?
Yeah, he's not in the show.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's never been in any of the shows.
That's right. That's right.
It's the little wizard, like with the wizard hat. That little creature, dude. Orko.
Orko.
But then they instead of having
No idea.
instead of having Orko,
Orko
they
and
changed
Gildor?
Yeah, they changed it to Gwildor, and I'm like, why didn't
we're
you just
going
use
over
Orko
to
from the show?
Nomina, and we're gonna
There's-
fight for
what's
Nimanu.
the name of the guy? There's a hilarious
know what
review. The drunken
It's the critical. Is it Critical Drinker?
critical drinker.
Or I think that
He does
I'm
it. You should
saying
watch it.
right.
He does a review of the show, and he makes fun of the fact that
My
in
brother-in-law,
this animated
Jeff,
series,
He sent that to me.
Okay.
He's got a lot of followers anyway, but my brother-in-law
Okay.
Jeff sent me that review. It's pretty.
in the review
hilarious.
he makes fun of the fact that in this animated series, Tila is more muscular than Dolph Lundgren in the
Yes.
actual live action movie.
Wow.
and
Yeah.
she gets like this butch haircut.
She has
and
the side.
to-
She
oh,
had-
yeah.
Courtney
it's-
Cox
Should I
was in that
say-
movie.
yes, she
in the
was.
original movie.
I'm gonna go home and watch that now.
I'm telling you, man, dude. When
Is
that
that
cow,
on
when the
Netflix?
cow moos and Gwildor goes, "What is that hideous cry?" I thought I was gonna lose it.
He's great.
I love that freaking movie. God,
That-
his
we should
little
watch that
voice.
at the lake.
You know, you know what's
I'm,
great? Yes, we need to
need to
get
watch
that
that
movie
at
for
the
the
lake.
lake. But
All right.
this all brings up the point of when they're making Universal and Peacock making this deal for The Exorcist. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Hollywood can't be original.
They can't.
At least when you're making crap movies like He-Man, it's somewhat original. It's
Yeah.
based on some original content.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys, I think we're ready to move on to our relationship segment.
We should.
Let's do that.
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above. And a thing called love.
Oh, I like that. Oh, a thing called love. Don't do that to me.
I was,
Don't do that to
I was
me.
doing it to love.
The whole thing.
Game over, man.
He just does.
man.
We still need that one. On
He's
here.
one.
I know.
He's one actor. I wish.
Bill Paxton.
I wish they would AI.
Fantastic.
They'd
love
bring
it.
back an
Yeah.
AI for him.
Yeah.
I'd interview him
You
so
shut
quick.
your mouth. Don't dishonor Bill Paxton that way.
I'm not back.
Yeah.
I swear, I only know him from Twister. Really,
Yeah.
he's so good.
And his
in
name
that.
was Bill in that movie.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
it's Bill.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right.
Alrighty, guys, our relationship segment this week. Keith, you want to introduce it? You came up with this
That's a
segment. It's
good
pretty
one.
good.
Very
It's a pretty
good.
good one.
Well, we actually talked about it a little bit next door. We wouldn't go over our. They tried. Your neighbors tried to pry what we were going to say on the show out of us, and we're like, you have to watch the show.
They know it by the lower third.
But as
now.
I was saying, over there, well, I told them what it was about.
Yeah. They just wanted our
There's-
story.
They wanted us to actually share our stories.
Yeah.
It's like no.
no, you got to wait for the show.
There's a
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that says, there's 3 types of relationships. For one's for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. And it got me thinking.
That's a good
You
one.
know,
Write
there
that
are
down.
definitely people I felt in my life that were placed there for a reason, for a purpose, whether it was to teach me a lesson or I needed maybe some type of support in that moment. And then, of course, there's still people in my life that I would say that are going to be in my life the rest of my life. You two.
You're dealing with it.
For whatever reason, God put me in my life. I haven't figured that one out yet. No, but yeah, there's definitely, I think, relationships. I told Sean, I think I'm in your life to help you in some way. I think that's what it is.
No.
So
You're going to get to heaven, and he's going to be like, let me show you around heaven. And you're going to be like, why were Brandon and Sean in my life? And he's going to be like, let me show you around heaven. He's not going to answer that question.
It's the one thing I'll never know.
And then you look over, and there's the damn aliens from Arrival, and then you wonder why I'm not there. And it's because, well,
I don't know where we're going, but I really hope
not to heaven.
if there's aliens in heaven, then my idea of heaven it's completely
Yeah.
different. Like what the Bible tells
Hey,
me is
It's like
everything
the
in
streets
heaven
of
right
gold
now.
and the crystal sea and that big freaking mothership. No.
they write the past, present, and future.
you get to the pearly gates, and instead of Saint Gabriel, it's E.T. with the little book.
He touches you with his golden finger, his little glowy
like-
finger.
Man, if I saw
like-
that,
and then the gates open up, and you get to go in. You're
like,
home.
shit, Spielberg knew this?
Oh.
Holy crap, how did he get this
But,
right? He was Jewish.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I think there's lots of reasons that you two are my friends, but even outside of that, there's definitely been people. Bob Evans, I think particularly people that I don't talk to anymore, but that I still have fond memories of some of the people I hung out with or would do things. And I mean, they were my friends at that time. And I wouldn't say, I mean, if I met them out on the street, I would still like greet them as a friend. Even though we don't speak anymore and don't really have reasons to, because sometimes that happens in life. You grow apart different. I mean,
Life goes on.
yeah, life
Yeah.
goes on. But there were definitely, especially with like everything that was with that job, and for a period of just a lot of anger and resentment that I had, that I was for not any time while I was in management before I'd gotten there. There was definitely just a dark place I was in at one point in time where I just felt like I was constantly used, which is probably true, I would say.
Corporate America.
I was always the person happy to help bail people out when things were going under. And I mean, I'm not trying to say this narcissistically, but there was a point in time where I was like, why do I keep coming in here to help them? And then I end up working like 13-hour days or something crazy, and I just got bitter, and there were times where like just resentful towards management or maybe saying things or acting in a way that was not professional because I was angry and in kind of a dark place. And there were definitely, I think, people that kind of help, like, not in any specific way. It's not like they're like, hey, man, you're getting kind of toxic, not to use a woke phrase. But it was one of those things where I think realizing just how it affected certain relationships, too. I was like, oh, it's supposed to be, and reality isn't that way because people don't share those morals. It's about learning, how to adapt and impart those morals and not let the world change you either, but not becoming this terrible person at the same time. So
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, do you have anybody specific, or was it just the people at Bob Evans and just Bob Evans in general and what it provided for you during that time?
Oh, there's specific people that not everybody at Bob Evans, but there were friendships that I had at Bob Evans that I think, and even past relationships or girlfriends or friends. Just I think everything. When I look back, it's like there's people I don't talk to anymore, and a lot of people are like, man, so I think some people have regrets about things, but I'm like. Yeah, I mean, there's things I could have done better in my life or things I could have done differently, but I don't really have many regrets because it makes you who you are today.
Yeah.
And those relationships, while some of them I may not have gone the way I would have liked because of my immaturity, I realize now it's like, well, I needed that so I could grow so that the relationship
So you
I'm
could
meant
be
to be
mature,
with,
yeah.
yes. It's like that way the person I'm meant to be with or the friends I'm meant to have, I don't run them off because of that same level of immaturity.
I'll get to it in a sec, I guess, because I kind of want to piggyback off of that a little bit because I completely agree. But Sean, what about you? Do you have?
I have. One of the things when I thought about this today at work after you guys, put it in the group text, I was like trying to think about it, and there's a lot of moments in my life that I feel like at the time I felt were very insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I look back, I see the results of those moments and how significant they were for me. And I don't want to name people specifically, just because of there's people that might be watching that know some of the people that I would refer to.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say that after going through incredible heartbreak over a relationship ending, I remember a guy that didn't really talk to me a lot at church because, I mean, he was an adult and I was, early 20s. I think I was 20. But I remember walking out of church feeling like, out in the vestibule crying, and this guy came out of church and knelt down in front of me while I was sitting in a chair, and I remember him putting his hand on my knee, and he was just like, he was crying, and he was just like, from experience, you'll be okay. And
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, hey, thanks, I appreciate it, that kind of thing. But years later, especially after he died suddenly, it really hit me. It was just like literally like maybe the last thing the interaction we had one-on-one and not in a group setting or like a church group setting was literally that moment in the vestibule, and I was. It means a lot to me, and it did help me.
Yeah.
And I look back at it now, and I'm just like, I wish I could thank him. I know someday I will, because I know that I'll see him again. But there's that moment. Then when I worked at Lowe's, I struggled really bad with going from. I was 18 when I started working at Lowe's, and I remember going from like church and youth group and kind of branching out into that job and being surrounded by a lot of people that said and did things every weekend and came into work, wasted and high and went around and just drank and partied all the time. And I was around those people and kind of invited into that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, there's nobody here that I work with that
can relate
has
to
any.
on
Well,
that level.
there's nobody here that believes in God. There's nobody here that I could talk to if I had a situation. It's just like coming and work 8 and 10 hours every day, and I'm surrounded by the wrong kind of people.
Right.
And then this guy that hired me ended up being a huge influence and pulled me through the years that I was at Lowe's, because he was that kind of person, and he grounded me in that while I was at work. I looked forward to coming to work and working with Gary just because I knew that he was going to give me like he would quiz me on Bible stuff. He'd be like, hey, I'm going to ask you a question, and then you got to go home and give me the answer tomorrow. And it got me reading my Bible again.
Yeah.
And it was just like little things like that. But I mean, I would have not made it the 6 years that I was at Lowe's if it wouldn't have been for Gary. Like that, he was my rock there.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of weird because I didn't think about it then, but I think about it now. And then even older and living in Bardstown, married with kids or with one kid at the time, even my pastor at the time who committed a crime, but he was my best friend, and I found out that he was this thief and that he had, done this terrible thing to the church, and he would stand up at the pulpit every Sunday and preach and then steal.
Yeah.
And it was just like but the idea of that like actually strengthened me, and it helped me to learn how to forgive a little bit, because I can honestly say, like, I did in front of him to his face, amidst all the evidence against him, like I forgave him, right? And I told him, I said, I don't care what you did, I forgive you, but you have to tell the truth and you have to answer for it. And like, if you don't do that, then I have no respect for you.
Yeah.
Like but I love you, and again, I forgive you. I'll walk away and not ever mention it again. But you have to do what's right. And I forgave him, and I don't believe he ever did what's right. At least not to where I could see it. Maybe he made it right later. But he did. He went to jail for a while and paid that part of the sentence or whatever. But still, like, it took a lot for me to forgive him, and I still, to this day, if I saw him, I would hug him. Like, he moved states away. Like, I probably never ever see him again. But if I did, I would literally walk up and hug the guy.
And it's almost like in those instances too, they would move states away, and they probably wouldn't even want not because they don't want to be associated with you, but it's their own healing.
Yeah,
well, they kind of they gotta get a fresh start, especially if you are trying to repent. It's like, and you have this reputation.
And I don't know if he ever did try to repent. For all I know, he's still lying to himself and lying to everybody else. But it took everything I had to forgive him, and I really felt like if I had not had him in my life for the time that I did, that I would have never matured to the point of being able to forgive somebody for something that's even unthinkable sometimes.
Yeah.
And not only could I forgive him, but it made me realize that I'm just a man, and there's nothing divine or special about me, and that I'm going to fall just as easily as he fell, and that we all do, and that I have to forgive myself too for things that you do. You're not going to be perfect, even if you're trying to walk that Christian walk. Like, you're not going to ever live up to that standard.
Right.
You're going to fall short, and you need to be willing to not only forgive others, but be able to forgive yourself for not living up to that. Doesn't mean you don't try, but at the same time, you have to be able to go easy on yourself a little bit, and being able to forgive him made it easier for me to forgive myself because of the sin that was in my own life.
Yeah.
And still, there's sin in my life today, obviously, but it's I can more easily forgive others and myself because of that. So there's just my life is speckled with people like that.
Yeah.
And I'm very appreciative for it. And I feel like the older you get, the more capable you are of looking back and putting the pieces together like a good M. Night movie. Like you see it. Yeah, I really feel like the older I've gotten, the more capable I am of seeing that.
Yeah.
And
no doubt.
So.
I mean, it's weird because it's like, again, I think we've kind of given overarching emphasis instead of specific. I mean, we have talked about specific people, and no doubt in my life, there's definitely been those specific people, and easily I could say a friend that I constantly text all the time that I've been meaning to catch up with, Logan. I mean, he is a great childhood friend, and it's not, again, it's kind of one of those things where life has just driven a wedge between us because, we both have our own things going on. Whether I'm doing Red Moon stuff, I don't quite have a family yet, but I know he's got his wife and his children, and so he's tied up in that. But we constantly, on birthdays and Christmas, we're texting each other, and we're like, we got to hang out. And, of course, pandemic has, I know for lots of people out there, has driven that wedge between some people and those relationships. But I think the other interesting thing, too, is, Logan being one of those people that was a huge friend of mine, just growing up and through those formative years of being a teenager. And also just some other friends I would go over and hang out with, whether it was Keith across the street growing up till I moved away, and even still, like, having that bond even when I did move off the street, but then having other friends closer that I saw on a more regular basis. My buddies Thomas, Jeff, Steven, they know who they are, and we I mean, had my best summer memories are from those guys. To being in high school and making short films, or even a terrible feature film, but gave me. I remember joking around with one of our great friends, Nathan, about the movie 26 Years we made in high school, and he even said, do you ever think, like, long after it was done and it wasn't the huge success that I had propped it up to be and wanted it to be, he was like, do you think if you ever become a huge movie director you would ever remake it? And I told him, I said no. And I was like, it has nothing to do with, like, the story, or, I thought it was a good story, and, but I was like, honestly, I just, those memories and that time served a purpose for me and are so pivotal to my life.
You don't have to be George Lucas. You don't have to go. You don't have to go back and revisit everything.
And that's the thing, is it? And it's funny, but I mean, I remember a trip that I took when I was 16. It was very formative on my youth. To San Antonio. It was a youth trip with my church. Met a lot of great people that I actually still stay in touch with, that I'm still acquaintances with, that maybe don't talk on a regular basis, but dabble one. Again, that's kind of the beauty of social media. We talk about all of its ills, but the beauty is that it does allow you to have stay in touch with those people that were just speckles in your life, to other relationships that, didn't end, I guess, as well. But yet, definitely.
And then just, I mean, even like, that's one thing I always look back on and find interesting is when you do encounter like relationships that become like those lifetime relationships, but at the time you don't know that. Like when I met Nathan or Jacob in high school, it's like, I'd known you for years, so like I knew, that obviously we're going to know each other for a long time. Or even when we started hanging out with Sean, it's like I was friends with Neil first.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first few times we went to Sean's, I didn't think, it's like, oh, this is somebody that's going to be an important part of my life forever.
But it was through a different person.
But
through a different connection.
It does. It happens. And you kind of look back on how you met these people or what part of them is important. Like what, like in that part of your life that you're like, oh, I could see how like, why Nathan became a lifelong friend, or why Jacob or Sean became lifelong friends, or even Aaron, who we don't hang out with all the time. Like why like we still get together from time to time. It's just like
we make it an important.
You realize it's kind of like there is a part of you that there's a reason they're there, and you kind of realize that later on, and why these people become lifetime friends instead of the ones that just pass through.
One thing that I've tried to do every year, and people who know me, they know this. It's like when it comes to Christmas time, it's the one year I actually go through my phone and I text like a personal Merry Christmas, and I put their name. I don't just do a generic text all, and I do it intentionally. And there's some on there, and it's even become like a joke.
I have a
where
few that
the
are
last conversation I had was literally the last 4 years were just Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And it was like, and that's the only thing we've said. And even funny enough, it was like maybe a couple years ago that it was like the third time. And oh gosh, one of my it was one of just my friends in college, and he was just like, always look forward to the yearly Christmas, greeting. Yeah, and it's just, it was funny, but it's like, even though it's kind of this acknowledging of, maybe we don't talk, and maybe you're not so huge a part of my life that, every impact that you make in your daily life is going to impact me, or vice versa. But it's like, you still were a part of it, and you're a kind enough, soul that I remember your influence on my life, or at least your impact you did make. Yeah. And of course, it's like you were saying, Keith, at the beginning, the little, there's a season for some people, and then others, who are there to stay. Yeah. And it's like,
but I think they all have like the reasons that they brought to your life. I do think I don't think anything is, well, I mean, for my faith anyways, I don't believe anything is just happenstance.
Right.
I mean,
no doubt.
I think there is a reason for everything.
And there are obviously those who are more so than others.
But I think
no
you
doubt
don't
that
really realize that until later. Like Sean said, as you get older and you look back, you realize, oh, this is kind of why this person.
That person was there.
You kind of you just realize that
seem bigger later for some reason.
Yeah.
So
and the things you thought were important and big really end up being small later in life. Yeah.
Just one instance that popped into my head was my old supervisor from JCPS. Even after we all it was a college kid gig, and after we all graduated and moved on, we would still get together around Thanksgiving, because that was our thing, where we'd go to Cracker Barrel and have a Thanksgiving meal. And I remember Jackie is her name, and I loved her as a supervisor. And I remember just the one thing she would always say to me every year when we would get together for that meal, she'd always be like, I miss our talks, like in the morning. Just coming in, and I was one of the ones who I had to come in earlier than the others, because I either had class or I had to go, to the radio station and leave early. So I would come in to get as many hours as I could. And so I'd be in there for about maybe an hour before everybody else would get there. And we'd have like just little conversations, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And it was those that she remembered, that I also remembered. But to know like her appreciation for having that, it made an even bigger impact on me, because it was like, okay, just that instance in and of itself, and knowing that conversation and those times made an impact on her, also helped, shape and form who I am. And to piggyback off of what you were talking about at the beginning, absolutely, I think, and I don't know, I've felt this way for the last like 2 years of, I guess, since I hit 30. It's such a big age. But no, it's weird how I've started to think in terms of, not in a cynical, like, oh, I need to move forward and leave these people behind, but definitely much more in terms of, not holding on to the past.
Yeah.
And not holding on to either those that are, you can't spend so much of your time aching and yearning for something that you wished you would have done or should have done as much as you need to say, okay, I need to move forward and I've got to move on. And those who are meant to be there and stay there as my rock are going to be there. That sphere of influence is going to remain. But for the most part, I've got to move forward. My life's got to continue.
Yeah.
And for me, that, I don't know, I've felt that stronger in the last couple years of getting to a point in my life where I'm like, okay, I can't dwell on this. I got to move on.
Yeah.
Your neighbor Brian actually texted a really short comment that he just said, no regrets.
Yeah.
Is what he
No
said.
regrets.
So that's I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No regrets.
No regrets. What happened to the mic
No
there
re-
for a second?
It just dropped.
Yeah, I don't know
power
what dropped out, didn't
failures.
it?
What Brandon was doing over there.
No
Just
regrets.
trying to turn us off so he could just
Hey,
hear himself.
Shut this guy's
Not one
down.
letter, huh? No regrets.
No
Gertz?
regrets.
Not one letter. Y'all don't know that. Come on. We are the Millers.
What?
You don't know that in the movie?
Yeah, no,
That's
no, no.
not a particularly good movie.
It's a funny
I know.
movie. It's that scene.
I know
though.
Brian did write no regrets.
yeah.
I will
Well, then-
say
and that's the thing.
Oh.
See,
no
not,
regrets.
Not one letter, and he says,
like you
it's
don't-
like
you're-
it's
You're
just
not
one of
even
those,
regretting
It's just, that's
not
not a
having
movie
spell check?
that it's like if you were coming off
that one
there's,
part
there's
is
a,
funny.
That is,
okay?
but there's a reason we quote Jurassic Park and Ghostbusters and these other like there's a reason no one quotes We Are the Millers.
Right.
I think
they're good,
that
they're good movies.
I think that
That's
is
the
one
reason.
movie that's you know what? Screw you all and move on.
I just feel like
Who
you
is
said
in that?
Jason Sudeikis.
Just Sudeikis?
And
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer
I
Aniston.
know
is
that
the,
one.
Is that the
And-
RV one?
Yes.
Okay.
It is
And Emma-
humorous.
Emma-
it's not a terrible movie.
Emma
It's just not.
Roberts.
It's not one that I feel is iconic. or
It's not
memorable.
iconic, but that one scene is funny. It's hilarious.
All right.
And Jennifer Aniston
I just
stripping.
that's the one
is
scene
also-
I remember. When she
Alrighty.
does that like whole like striptease dance. Oh.
And then I love when he slaps. And then he slaps him, and he's like, "Son, that's your mother," even though it's not his real mom.
Yeah.
But
I don't remember.
you've
any
never
of that
seen the movie?
I've
They're
seen it. I
They're
just don't
pretending to
remember
be
it.
a family, but he gets excited and slaps her, and it's supposed to be his mom. And it's like, yeah,
Oh,
don't.
okay.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
"Hey, that's your mother,"
yeah.
Why are
Like-
they pretending to be a family?
because they got to go down to Mexico and get drugs and bring it back. And so he tries to get this ragtag group of broken people together to go do
They're,
it.
they're, they're pretending to be a family on vacation in this
Gotcha.
RV, but they're really trying to smuggle drugs in.
Okay.
It's
and he
not-
recruits children.
No,
No.
it's just go watch it.
They're like
Yeah. It's
not a terrible
college
movie.
age.
I saw
college
it. I
age.
just it's not
It's
memorable.
I don't think it's worth rewatching.
I think there are some out there who
Is it
would
on
argue.
Netflix?
Probably.
Okay.
Or it's on some streaming
on
service.
something.
I think there are some who would argue that it is
I would
memorable.
give it 2.5.
or that it's quotable.
I'd give
You.
it 2.5.
I would, yeah, me, and
Okay.
all of my fans that would also agree that Arrival sucks. Alrighty, guys, we
Yeah.
want to thank you all for tuning in this week. Just like every single week on the Red Moon Podcast, as always, you can catch every bit of Red Moon love here on
Mhm.
Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. Or
think
you
I've
can
had
follow us right there.
Too
all
much
of our social
nicotine and
links.
caffeine because my head's just wow.
That's a quotable
It's probably
line.
because you let your hair down
Yeah.
for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson. Wow.
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 Wow. I love that. Have you seen the YouTube of all his wow? Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I love watching that.
Wow.
Owen Wilson saying wow.
There's actually a good one of I think is it no, it's not Tom I think it is Tom Hiddleston, maybe. Who's
Hiddleston?
Hiddleston.
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 It's
Hiddleston.
Heredity too.
It's Hiddleston.
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
I always screw that one up,
Heredity.
too. But no, it's him he mocks and he does an
Oh yes,
impression
I've seen his
of-
impressions and they're very good.
of Owen Wilson.
He did
and it's
Owen
pretty good,
Wilson.
yeah.
A bunch of actors.
Jimmy Kimmel had Owen Wilson on and then had him watch his
What's,
impression. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
What's his name? He was in Joker with Joaquin.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
The only other big name actor in the movie. The talk show host.
Oh, you're talking about I know who it is. Come on, you got this.
I'm not going to think
Godfather.
of it right
Robert De
now.
Niro.
Yes, thank you.
I was
Thank you.
waiting for him to
That's to say, I know his name. I just was drawing a blank, and I'm like, I'm not going to think of it. Yeah,
Yep.
he did an impression of him that was really good.
Oh
too,
yeah. Everybody does an
Yeah.
impression of
Yeah.
De Niro.
Yeah.
But no, his actually was pretty. That and Al Pacino, he did him too. He did a couple of actors.
Booty
that they
Sweat?
Oh
Booty
no. What?
No, not that Al Pacino. Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
I know.
I
know that
knew
one.
what Sean was.
Yeah.
See, that's a movie that you know.
Tropic Thunder is a quotable movie.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
It absolutely is.
right.
It's one of the best movies in the last, I would say, decade.
You
That's quotable.
make me happy.
Wait,
It's Simple Jack.
it's not the
Simple
last
Jack.
decade. It's it's 1 decade ago. Because it was 2010, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh my
was it?
gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy. It's over
Yeah.
10 years
I think it was
old.
2011 actually, so it was just at a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. As always, you can also email us. Yes, that old arcane way of reaching out to people.
I got it tonight.
You got it?
Oh, the mic is hot. I can hear myself real good.
You do it.
All right, you ready?
You got it. I'm ready.
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Wow. That was deep.
That was sex.
Nice.
And
That was nice.
was
That
sex.
was sex and chocolate.
That was lovely.
That was very nice.
Keith, you do it.
I couldn't do it any better.
I don't know if I want to follow you up.
That's
He's
all right.
done.
You don't
Should I
have
do it seriously or can I be like?
Yeah, you never go full retard.
In podcast and Red Moon Productions. Why am I here?
God,
You sound like
she is like, I'm taking it
You
from
sound like the guy at the end of Old.
Yeah.
You sound like the dad.
No, this
Edie's
is
like-
the dad. I love you, son.
We just looked around and
I did. I
Mr.
watched.
Magoo smile.
I watched the trailer
Why
again.
are we angry at each other?
When we get to this beach.
This is a why did we ever want to leave?
The worst thing you
Actually,
can
I
do.
think my acting was better than his.
I
right
think
there.
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do is take a bad actor and then try to get them to act old.
Yeah.
It's like it's
Yeah.
just a stereotype on a
Yeah.
stereotype.
It's like if you squint
It's
your
bad.
eyes, that makes
They
you.
did nothing
apparently,
to
if you
him.
squint your
No,
eyes,
other than him going blind, like they didn't change his face.
Nothing.
They didn't
Yeah.
give him gray hair or nothing.
it's like that's how you're old and blind if you squint. I
Yeah.
can't
can't
see.
You smile
if
at your
you
son like, yeah.
It's
we're
like
all
kids
together.
playing house.
It never made any sense. It's
we're
like
old.
It's like blind people. It's like blind people don't squint their eyes because they can't see. It's like that makes you see better. Okay.
Hey, you don't talk about squinty-eyed people.
Hey,
all right,
eh,
almanacs.
blind Stephen Lang. He don't keep his eyes squinted. He just you know.
Well, some
Yeah.
we don't have a choice. All right, let's get to it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
I'm sad because I mentioned Stephen Lang and Sean didn't quote him.
it's over.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.